Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, and welcome again. My name is Martisha LaCroix. I am one of the senior event managers here at the LaCroix Agency. And so I'm excited to be with you on this afternoon. And what I'm going to be talking about today and for probably the next 3 to 4 days is why you should host live events. And I was going to start off with this. One of the things I always try to tell people is that people coming together in person is so valuable. And I know we have not been that way for a while, but I understand that it is important that we all get together. It's the energy, it is a vibe, it is meeting people from different places. Even if they all work for the same company, it is so many things that may go into the factor of them being a part of this live event. And I understand too, as we'll probably may talk about it today or may talk about it sometime in this 5-part series, is I know virtual hybrid events are very valuable and important too, because everybody ultimately either they're A, not going to come, or B, they may be around the world, right? This may be a global meeting. And so they are, away. So it's just easier for me to be virtual extremely. So I'm gonna give you a quick nugget, which has nothing to do with today about virtual experiences. What drives people to want to come if they have experienced a virtual experience, if you give them like nuggets in little bits and pieces, right? You don't give them the whole meal, but you give them an appetizer that now they're like, listen, I have got to be in the room the next time they host this event. So just think about that. If you do add a virtual component, we call it hybrid because you have people in person and people online. But if you add that component, just think of it. If your goal is to have more people in the room, what you need to do is make sure that you say, hey, I want to give them a little taste, give them value, right? Give them their money's worth, but you want to give them a little enough taste to say, hey, next year I'm going to be in the room, or the next time they have this meeting, I'm not going to miss it because I know I'm missing out on that experience of being in person. And that was just a little side nugget for those who think about, well, people still want to be online, and that's fine. But I promise you, if you are giving value, if you are in a place where you're like, hey, you paid a smaller amount and you only get this so many, but people who came in person got this, and they see they're getting all this value just on virtual, they're like, hey, I want to be a part of the live experience. So that's just a little nugget for those who have been thinking about virtual versus in person, and we'll get more in depth about how that works. But anyway, so over the next 5 days, I'm just going to talk about 5 reasons why I'm pulling my notes. You should host live events, especially for companies who are doing well, companies who say, listen, we can fit it into our budget to host a live event. It is so valuable. And there's 2 components I want to make sure we're always keeping in front of us as we are talking about the hosting live events. Now, there's 2 different sectors when you're a company. When you're a company, you have what we call your internal customers, right? That's your staff, that's your team, that could be a sales force, whatever that looks like for you. These are the people that quote unquote work for the company, whether they are, contractor workers or they're actually on staff, salaried workers, they still, of course, work for your corporation. And then you also have what we call our external customers. Now, it depends on how you look at it when it comes to your external customers. For the person who say maybe they're a big motivational speaker brand, well, they're external customers, those who may follow them, those who come and utilize your courses, your products. And so whatever that looks like for you, you need to decide, hey, can I actually host a live event with these people? And so when you think about what I'm going to talk about over the next 5 days, what I want you to know is that you can look at it from 2 perspectives, right? You can look at it from an internal perspective and, of course, an external perspective, depending on how your company is set up. And so, for example, we're the LaCroix Agency. We work with corporate, small businesses, but really corporations who are now hosting events. They're ready to go live, ready to get back in person, or they may have never hosted a meeting before ever. And so we work with them in doing so, right? Most of our clients have 200 or less attendees for their event. So they're real intimate, they're smaller, but they really make a dynamic impact, whether they're for the internal customers or for the external customers. Our goal is that you go live and that you build relationships through your event. And we'll talk about that for just a second, because really our topic for today is, and these are not in no particular order, but I wanted to start with this. And the one thing I want to talk about is why you should host live events is the building of morale. We all know what has happened over the past few years with what we've gone through as a whole global move, right? And so I know many people like me who enjoy working remotely. A lot of people don't, and I understand that we don't have the, you know, the group situation. We're all in a building together, and if you ever work for a corporation, you know about the cubicles, and we have different parties and things like that. Well, a lot of people don't have that anymore. All they have is their four walls of their home office. And so many of them are like, hey, I miss this moment. It's great to be home. I have more flexibility, but I do miss the camaraderie. I do miss the mini competition. I do miss different things. And so I want to talk about how live events, right? Meetings are allowing you to boost that for your people. People perform better when they're in, let's go with that. People perform better when they're in that environment. And so because we may not have it, how do you then create it in a place where we can come together and I get my motivation? So meetings allow us to do that. They allow us to come together, if it's internal with our colleagues, and say, hey, Marie, I'm just making it up. Hey, Marie, I missed you. Or hey, Marie, how are the kids? Now they're like, hey, this is going great. It allows you the opportunity to bring your staff together who may be around the world, who may be at their home in different states. And now they get to come together to have a little fun in the sun. They get to experience the pool. They get to get pulled out their environment where they can be creative. And now it gets their juices rolling. So you want to think about, how can that build for me? How can I bring them to, I don't know, let's say Orlando, Florida. How can I bring them there? And they're able to now feel energized, feel motivated, right? It builds them up that you're able to now say that you care. That's the second part of morale. It tells you as a company that you care. You care enough about their mental health. You care enough about their productivity enough to say, hey, let me take you away for a little while and let's have the conversation. Let me take you away for a little while and let's get some personal development. You know, one of the things when I was working in a corporate job, I remember that what I respected most is the investment in education. I respected the fact that we were able to take continuing education classes and the company paid for them. The same rules apply to when you take them to an event, because they said, listen, you value me enough to invest in me. You value them to say, hey, I really need you to take a break. I really need you to learn something new. I want to get you out of the environment. They feel that you value them, you know, and people tend to want to work with you more when they know you're valued. When they say, hey, my company is doing a salesman's retreat, or they're doing a CEO retreat, or they're doing, a VP retreat, whatever that is, they say, listen, I value enough to hear what you have to say, to educate you, and to make sure you're taking a break, right? The other piece I want to add into that's so valuable, which is we've learned over different moments for the internal customers and external customers, you're going to find that a lot of your staff are incorporating, family time in that. So if you're already taking care of this person, right, you're taking care of me as your staff member. Well, hey, I may say, let me bring my husband, let me bring my children. And now we have this hotel stay, right? We can get tickets. I'm going back to my Orlando example. We have tickets where they can go to Disney World. They can do other things while I'm in here getting poured into, while I'm in here getting things done. I want to also put in here for the external customer, and these are for people who have big box companies, but brands that are a movement. Let's say you are I know someone's an attorney and they have this big global brand. They have locations, and say they bring their customers in, and they say, hey, we're having this event where we're talking about trust or whatever the case may be, that they bring those people in. Some of you have external customers that you've never hosted an event for, whether it was a high-end retreat, whether it was a intimate group coaching, whatever that is. You can do that as well. And the difference is, though, from being an internal and external style customer, is this: when you bring your external customers to a place where they're actually learning something, they're growing. Let me tell you, the most thing they learn is the community. You give them a community because we all have one thing in common. We're following you, we're buying your product, your courses or whatever the case may be. But here is the key, okay? We're following you, but that drew us together. And so now they're meeting people from around the world, and now they have formed this community. And so now, hey, I may need help with something that you necessarily don't talk about, but it's something that I'm dealing with, and I meet this person who understands it. I'll give you an example. We attend event planner conferences throughout the year. And so in meeting other people, building relationships, I met someone who was dealing with, my son, her son wasn't doing well in school. And so through a conversation, I was able to refer her to some things, some companies that I knew were good based on, my sister's experience with my nephew. And so that solved her problem, even though we weren't even there for that. We were there for an event planners conference. And so I'm telling you that as an external customer, it builds community, it builds relationships. So now you're in a place where you're building this morale, this movement in your business. You're building this morale with your internal customers. You're building morale with your external customers. They believe that, hey, I can produce more. I have greater ideas. You took the time to invest in me, and now I desire to stick with you that much more. So listen, I'm so grateful that I took this few minutes for me to just kind of talk about one of the things that I believe that having live meetings can solve for many people, and that is boosting their morale, their confidence, right? That they can produce even more. And it all ultimately at the end of this shows that you genuinely care about the people that you serve and who serve you. With that being said, remember to do life on purpose, with purpose, and for purpose. We'll see you